You are now watching Real Talk with SlapStik on SlapStik TV.
Get ready, SlapStik fans. Coming to the interview table, the very funny and entertaining comedian Palisoul here on SlapStik.
You're watching SlapStik TV with Felicia. I am here today with Mr. Palisoul. Over 24 TV appearances like Jay Leno, Last Comic Standing, Comedy Central, a slew of sitcoms, and so many videos I can't even remember right now. Mr. Palisoul, how you doing today?
I'm very well, and I'm delighted to be here. And you know, it sounds like a lot when you say it. I sound like I've been busy all the time, but...
You have been.
Well, but I've been at it a long time, so I'm really not that prolific.
Okay, so, like I said, you on so many TV appearances like Jay Leno,
right.
Comedy Central, Last Comic Standing. How do you put yourself off stage and onto those sites?
Well, it happens through attrition. You know, I wanted to do the Tonight Show since I was about 11. And I just aimed at it and aimed at it and aimed at it. And, you know, I sent video after video. I did audition after audition. And then finally it just sort of broke for that show. And other shows were broke before it. But it just takes one little, you know, after another, after you just sort of keep going. And I think this, people don't fail, they stop. And I just haven't stopped. And so eventually you find whatever level of success that you're going to find, but I just didn't stop.
So off of the Jay Leno Tonight Show into the videos, how do you make that transition? The music videos?
Well, I'll tell you a fun story about the music video. I was broke. And this is God working in my life as He does, you know. I was broke. I mean, I had no money. I had to get to the middle of next week before I was going to work again and get some money. And we were living in Los Angeles at the time, and I sat down in my chair and I had called everybody that I knew that could give me work, and there wasn't any work to be done. And I just sat in my chair and I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, man. And the phone rang right after I said that, and there was a casting director that had seen my headshot, and she wanted me for the funny of this Toni Braxton video. I was comic relief. It was just a joke, and it paid me just enough to get through to the next week. And it sort of, again, it just sort of sing-songed from there, you know. But I was so happy to get it that I didn't care what I was going to do. And then I got there, and I just felt so low because they dressed me up like an idiot. Which, okay, fine, but I'm around Adonis and all of these just chiseled, beautiful men, and I just looked like an idiot. But that was the express purpose of it, was for me to be comedy, and I was. I took an emotional hit that day.
So how did you find yourself being so funny? I mean, how did it strike you one day like, this is my profession, this is what I want to do? When did you really know that you were funny?
Early on, I learned that I was funny. I learned that I enjoyed humor early on. I read joke books as a kid and things like that, and there was a lot of comedy on the house TV. You know, we watched a lot of Carol Burnett, a lot of Bob Newhart, things like that, MASH, shows like that, and I enjoyed the tension cutter of humor. And we grew up, we were poor when I grew up, you know, we didn't have a lot of stuff, and there was some tension in the house, and I had problems with school because I wasn't a good student, and humor was just my way of sort of coping. So I relied on it a lot, and then it occurred to me that I could be a comedian when I saw all of these other comedians, but I had no idea how to go about it. And then I saw some comedians on it. My folks used to let me stay up and watch the Tonight Show, so I would see the guys on the Tonight Show, and I'm thinking, I really want to try to do that. But I had no way in, no avenue, no idea how, and sort of gave up on it, you know, that it happened to other people. And then my first wife left, and I was like, I'll show her, and that really was the driving force for me to just, because I had nothing left to lose at that point.
So when you mentioned seeing other comics, who was your look-up person, or the person that you would go to kind of mimic your comic, or say, hey, I want to kind of be like them, or kind of learn from them? Who was your person in your circle that you wanted to kind of be like? Or
well, I had a number of them, and in fact, growing up as a kid, you know, some kids collect music albums and things like that. I had comedy albums. I had a whole slew of comedy albums, and I used to sit on the edge of my bed and do them into a hairbrush. and I had Bob Newhart, I had Bill Cosby, I had George Carlin, I had Richard Pryor, I had Flip Wilson. I mean, if they had a comedy album, at some point or another, I either had it or borrowed it from somebody that had it, and just listened to it and just into it it's over and over and over again. And so I learned clean comedy, like from Bob Newhart, that kind of the button-down mind and that kind. And then I learned just free-flowing comedy from somebody like Flip Wilson or Richard Pryor. You know, that was comedy outside of my circle. You know, because Richard Pryor talked about people in the neighborhood. I didn't have a neighborhood like that. I didn't know people like that. But he made them real. He made them passionately funny, and he made them empathetic. And I thought, wow, what an eye-opener that was for me. And I learned early on that I was funny, and then later I learned how I was funny, and then throughout the doing of the business, I learned how to be funny now, which is what it takes, because it's, you know, here in a bit I'm going to go on stage again, and now it's be funny now. You know, I'm not funny right now, but I'll be funny when it's time, and that was the third part of the learning.
So how much percentage of your comedy is from your neighborhood or your upbringing or things that you grew up around? How much do you put in your act or your routine on stage?
I think that it bleeds through in small ways and in big ways, because I was informed by growing up the way that I grew up, and that informs my comedy. I may not talk about those things specifically, but they shaped me, as I'm sure your childhood did you. It shapes you, and it gives you a worldview that you just take ahead in life. And there's some things from early childhood that made its way into my comedy early, because that's what I relied on and knew. And then, as I said, I started to learn how I was funny, and it's just sort of a filter. You know, something comes in, information comes in, and it just sort of goes through this humor filter that I was blessed and gifted with, and then it just comes out funny. But it is informed by the kid who grew up poor, smaller than everybody else, and because I mean, I really wanted to be an athlete. That was my big dream.
Athlete?
Oh, I wanted
to
be a football athlete. That's what I wanted to be. And if football couldn't work, then I was going to do baseball. And if baseball couldn't work, then I was going to golf. And I was just decent enough to be not good. I wasn't bad. I wasn't terrible, but I wasn't as good as the other kids. Mm-hmm. And so it became very clear at one stage that this isn't. It may be for you, but you're not for it.
Right.
There's a difference, you know, there's a difference.
Okay, so I know you have a show to put on tonight, so really quick, if not a comic, who would you want to be, or what would you want to be?
Well, if I were...
He's an athlete.
Yeah,
but...
well, realistically, I mean, if I really thought about it, if I were a good student and learned well, I think I'd be an architect or in advertising.
Really?
Because they're still both very creative, and it's a mental outlet, and I would like that. But short of that, happiness comes from inside out, you know that. And I could have been, without this, I might be the funniest guy you ever bought a washer and dryer from. You know, I mean, humor still would have informed and infused my life, but if my home life is happy, then I could be happy, and there's a lot of things about this job that detract from my life. You know, I don't have children, I don't have family. It's just my wife and I. And doing this may have cost me that, because I may have been on the road when my wife was fertile. You know, I don't know. But we just never had children, and I've been sort of saved from that, because I don't know that I could do this and miss children and miss a birthday. You know, this week I missed my niece graduating college. And she graduated with honors, and you know, it's a big shot thing for her, and of course you want to be there to support that thing, but I've got to, first of all, I've got to make a living. Okay. And even before the making a living, you've got to honor yourself, and this is how I do that, just by doing this. Okay, well, speaking of making a living, we're going to get you back out there and make a living.
All right, thank you. And you're watching SlapStik TV with Palisoul, and I am your host tonight, Ms. Felicia. Thanks for joining us tonight.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Have a great evening.
You as well. Thanks.
And that was Real Talk with comedian Phil Palisoul and SlapStik host Felicia. Keep watching next week for the one and only Mary Patterson here on SlapStik.
SlapStik, 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 SlapStik,
SlapStik, SlapStik,
SlapStik, SlapStik, SlapStik, SlapStik. Slapstick. Slapstick. Slapstick.
Slapstick. Slapstick. Slapstick. Slapstick.
Slapstick. Slapstick.
Slapstick.
Slapstick. Slapstick. Slapstick. Slapstick. Slapstick. Slapstick. Slapstick. Slapstick. Slapstick. Slapstick. Slapstick. Slapstick in his bed. Shut it down, Slapstick. Slapstick, shut it down. Slapstick, shut it down. Shut it down, Slapstick.
I have been doing interviewing now since I can remember.
Really?
A very, very, very long time.
Really?
But in the official capacity, I think about 4 or 5 years. Yeah, I'm with SlapStik, maybe well over a year now.
So you're good at connecting with people.
I am a people person.
I bet that's true. That's what makes the best interviewers.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. I don't know. I was raised a very deferential kid. Get the wrong burrito, just eat it. Who do you think you are?
It's gonna be for lunch, dinner, and breakfast.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And how did you come by Valicia? Is there some meaning to that?
Actually, yeah, it means beautiful. It's from Venezuela.
Ooh. Well, they goddamn nailed that. Am I wrong?
I got the hell trying to put the blues on me. So how do you pronounce your last name?
I pronounce it Palisoul,
Palisoul.
but it is said
So?
soul, like the food.
So?
Yeah.
Like soul food.
S-O-U-L, yeah. People make it harder than it is. You know, people put R's in it, they put N's in it.
They put F's in it.
Yeah.
E's in it.
Yeah. And I was in Paris last September, and you know, I would give them my credit card or something, and they would say Mr. Pal, and they would say it, and it was beautiful. You know, it had this little to it, and I can't even do it. But when they would say it, yeah, I was like, that's how you say it, right there.
Yeah, it sound good, huh?
Yes, I'm going to record that, and then forever, everybody's just going, how do you say your name? And I'm just going to hit that little button, and it'll be
Palisoul.
Yeah, it was just fun. I had that little.